Good evening, Drew.
Hey, there's Paul.
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, Skype thinks I need a tutorial. Bless its little heart.
Oh, Skype.
Oh, Skype. I know. You think this is a new computer and that I'm new at computers. It's fine. It's fine.
Speaking of new computers.
Okay.
How's that going?
So things are okay. I did some more experiments because I just can't leave well enough alone, Paul. I just can't leave well enough alone.
Okay, some more experiments. All right, I want to hear about all of them.
Yeah. So, what? I think that I kind of have the graphics card mounted and cooled in such a way that it's not going to get any sort of better than it is. I could continue to futz with it, but I don't really think that it's going to get any better temperature-wise than what I have right now. So I've decided to turn my attention elsewhere in my computer.
Okay.
So, I talked sort of at length last time about how, my graphics card has this water block on it, and it's basically a shame sandwich of water and graphics card, right? And when I was putting this together last time, I think you've built computers before, so let me see how I can talk about this. So, anytime you're putting together a computer, the thing that gets hot has to make good contact with the thing that is designed to keep it cool. I don't care if that's a fan, an all-in-one cooler, or a custom water block. And what I'm talking about here is thermal interface material.
I used to be a PC enthusiast.
Yep.
And I built my son's gaming PC.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very familiar with that silver paste that gets everywhere.
Yeah. So it is best described as a goop. And the idea is that, listen, the surfaces of your processor or whatever it is you're trying to keep cool, plus the surface of your water block are not machined with enough tolerance to just meet. So there are gaps between the cold part and the hot part, and this material is designed to basically exist in that small, less, fraction of a millimeter space, usually, between those two things. And that goop acts as not just a contact surface, but a transmission of heat. So, really good thermal pastes are designed to be put on really thin, make up that difference, and transmit the heat uniformly off of that surface into the thing that is designed to keep it cool. All right? Now, when I bought my water block for my CPU, what I thought was really telling was the thermal goop that they shipped with it was not from the same company that made the water block.
Okay.
When I bought my graphics card water block, it came with its own, the EK brand thermal goop that you're supposed to use with it. This came with Thermal Grizzly paste. Let me put a link in the doc here. Thermal, and I'm going to give a shout out to this company because they're really good. So Thermal Grizzly is sort of universally regarded as one of the, if not the best maker of this thermal interface on the market today. If you fancy a good YouTube trip, go online and read reviews of where people with way too much time, will tear down systems and use different thermal interfaces and actually compare the temperatures against them, and they have this really rigorous testing technology.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. But for someone like me who is always looking to make sure that he's doing things right, I for one value their contribution. But yes, I would never want to be the person that is testing this.
No.
So the thermal paste that my CPU block came with, so there's basically two types of descriptions for this material. There is either thermal paste or thermal grease. And thermal paste is usually a little more viscous and is designed to spread out when you put pressure on it. So typically what you'll do is when you want to make contact is you'll put 2 grains of rice, pea size. There's all these different qualitative, not quantitative measurements that you're supposed to use when you're like putting this stuff on there. And the idea is that when that little piece of like, whenever that little blob of goop is on the surface, you put the next piece on there, and if as long as you're putting like uniformal pressure on it, it sort of pushes it out.
It's all smushy.
It's all smushy, so it smushes it between that, makes its own little like ice cream sandwich, like the opposite of an ice cream sandwich, I guess. But like it smushes it together and you get good contact, right? Like that is usually how it works. And like if you have ever bought like an aftermarket cooler, like an all-in-one cooler, or even like a fan that comes with your processor, a lot of times this material's already on there, and like you will peel a sticker off or you'll take a piece of plastic off, and like when it makes contact, like it's already kind of got the right measurement in there, and usually that's like good enough, right? But like for this, you know, once you like kind of wade into the wave pool of enthusiast water cooling, you kind of have to do a lot of this yourself, right? So anyway, and there's also thermal grease. Now, thermal grease is way thicker. Like you have to like really press to get it out of the tube because it is grease. Like it is like really thick, and like it's not designed to spread out. Like you have to
spread it out yourself.
You have to spread it out yourself. So like you have to like take a credit card, or sometimes they come with little spatulas. Like I'm not making this up. They'll come with little spatulas that you can use to like basically frost your processor, right? Like you have to like massage it on there, and like you can't use too much. You want to use like as thin a layer as possible, because too much thermal grease will inhibit that thermal transmission and stop it from like removing heat efficiently. And it actually like kind of works in reverse to where like you'll actually get more heat. Now, truth be told, like there's plenty of like debunkers out there that have basically said like, look, there really is no such thing as thermal paste as long as you are not like drenching your processor in it, right? Like where you can, honest to God, like they have shown plenty of things where like there are instances where like you could like totally goop this thing up and it's not going to matter. There's two places you get in trouble though. Number one, if you use too much and you don't put uniform pressure on the plate when you put it on, you'll be left with air pockets. And those air pockets are a detriment because the heat builds up in there and it has nowhere to go. The other thing is that some of these thermal pastes are conductive. So like if it overflows your processor and goes onto your system board, you could get a short, right? So
the electrons go where they shouldn't go.
Right, the electricity goes where it's not supposed to go. So like you do have that to worry about. But by and large, like this is something that people could definitely overthink. That said, this grease that came with it, like you really have to work it in there. Like it is extra thick. Like even taking an old Starbucks gift card and like scraping it across the processor, like you really have to work it in there. And like they don't give you a lot. So like if you mess it up, you don't get a lot of retries. So when I was putting this on there the first time, like I thought I spread it out pretty good, but like I was seeing some relatively high processor temperatures, and I was like, I guess next time I take this apart, I'll try to replace that. So I ordered some really nice Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut thermal paste, and I decided the other night to take this all apart again.
So took it all apart.
Took it all apart. And then I decided to make two changes. Number one, I was replacing the thermal paste under my CPU cooler, and I was also going to add a third radiator to my case.
Okay. Do you have some room for a third radiator, or is it getting a little cramped in there?
Well, it's getting a little cramped in there, but like the way my case is laid out, okay, this is a great case for water cooling, but it has one very big flaw. It is really hard to get cross airflow in this case because it has a tempered glass front that is complete. It is only glass. There is no bracket behind this glass to mount fans. So it is a tempered glass front and a tempered glass side. So there are no fans on the front of the case. The only way I can get cross airflow in my case is to suck air from the bottom and push it out the top. That is it. That is the only way I can get air into my case.
Okay.
But I have two relatively thick 360 millimeter radiators in my case, one in the top and one on the bottom. So my configuration is like, okay, so imagine a computer case. Lining the bottom of the case are 3 fans. So the radiator is 360 millimeters, which, if you're good at math, if you divide that by 3, that's 3 120 millimeter fans that go on the radiator. Okay, so basically imagine 3 computer fans literally like laying next to each other and then a radiator on top of it, and that's what I have in the bottom of my case. So I have 3 fans that are blowing air from underneath my case into the radiator, and that airflow continues out the radiator into the rest of my case. On the top of my case, I have another 360 millimeter radiator with 3 more fans, again, underneath the radiator, pushing air out. So the idea is the air comes in from the bottom of my case, super cool, goes through my radiator, gets a little warm, not super warm though, because it's a really thick radiator. The air continues up past my graphics card, hopefully into the fans at the top, and then pushes warm air up the top. And like when I'm playing a game, or like when I go to save this podcast later and encode it, like I will feel warm air coming out of the top of my computer. Okay, so
right.
It's doing its job, right? But so I decided to add a third radiator. Well, the only space I have to add a third radiator in my case right now is there is space for either. Well, no, it's just okay. It only has space for that. It has space for one 120 millimeter fan on the back of the case. So I just so happen to have a 140 millimeter radiator. So I thought to myself, let's add some more surface area to these radiators, because the way radiators work is they have fins, and the more surface area they have and the more air you put across them, the more wattage or temperature you can dump, right? Like that is the whole premise of how this whole water cooling thing works, right? Dump. Nice. Poop. So again, more radiators really can't hurt. I mean, they can. Like there gets to be a point of not only diminishing returns, but like you're moving so much water that like it just like there is a point where it gets to be all too much. So anyway, I had everything apart. I drained the monster. I took everything apart. I took out the case fan I had in the back of the computer. I put in the 140 millimeter radiator. I put a fan behind it, so it was sucking air from behind my case and pulling it into the case. Added 2 extra tubes, right? No, actually added 1 extra tube. So like, where the water was previously flowing into my CPU block, I routed that to the new radiator, put a tube from that to the processor, and then from the processor back out. So like relatively benign surgery. So I replaced the thermal paste in it, was doing some testing last night, and I was seeing some pretty warm processor temperatures. So I thought, well, I must have done a really bad job applying this thermal paste. So again, last night I took it all apart again, and then I ran into a major flaw with my new radiator design, and that is before, when I drain this, the way it is currently configured, I can get most of the water out of it. With this extra radiator, it becomes almost impossible to drain. So I had to take my computer apart in stages to get the water out, so the water went where I wanted the water to go. And then I ended up taking that radiator back out. So now I just have my 120 millimeter fan sucking in cold air from behind my computer, blowing it like onto my processor, which should help, right? Because it's good to get airflow over it, even though it has a water block on it. And then that air is mixing with the air that is coming up from the bottom of the case and being vented out the top. So long story short, that's all done. I'm seeing pretty good temperatures. Like here's my thing, right? Like here's the thing. I just have to leave well enough alone. I just have to stop. Like this whole experiment, right? Mm-hmm. Like my average temperatures are amazing. Like I'm averaging like 42 degrees Celsius in my case. Like that's really good for averages. Mm-hmm. But I do get some pretty big spikes. I really do. And yeah, but like those are outliers, right? Like they don't it's not like it's spiking all the time. So like it's fine. It's fine. What I'm going to do is in the docs.
True? Is it?
Stop it, Paul. don't quit being a bully.
I'm just asking because I thought
me.
we left last episode with it being fine.
Stop bullying
and
me. Stop.
And I'm just
stop bullying me.
I mean, I love the content. This is for me right here.
Okay, all right, okay.
Because I love listening to these stories, and then I get to listen to them again. Like, oh.
So here's what I'm going to do.
All right.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to swear to you and the listeners that are right now, I am not going to touch this loop for a week. I'm going to let it go.
Okay.
I'm going to let it be. I'm just going to see how it goes. Everything's fine. I'm not going to change anything. It's all good. That's it. I'm gonna wait a week.
Do you have some sort of like software that runs that like logs your temperatures to like an Excel spreadsheet so you can track these things? Or?
I do. In fact,
okay. All right.
There's some open source software. There's one that's generally, and I'm gonna put a link in there because this is actually pretty good hardware to have just in case. There's a program called Hardware Info or HW Info. It's free. It's open source. It's really good for collecting system like sensor information because like literally every little component of your computer has a sensor that is addressable. So like right now I have it open and I actually am like watching my temperatures as I like talk to you, right? Just to kind of see where they're at. So like your processor has like 4 temperature gauges in it. They have what they call the TCTL T-die, which is like the processor temperature. Like that is what is happening like on the surface of your processor. And then there are additional temperatures like thermistors in the processor at different layers of your thermal interface. So like closer to the surface, closer to the silicon. There's an average, which basically takes all 3 and averages them together. So like that's all in there too. And like those are really good. And then like your motherboard has a bunch of sensors on it. Like there's like a system temperature. There's also a separate CPU temperature reporting thing there. So like I'm looking at it right now and it's got like a ton of stuff, like how much voltage it's currently pulling. I can get my graphics card temperature from here. I can see like, you know, it's a really good application. Like even if you're not overclocking or you're just kind of curious like what your computer's doing, like I really enjoy this program. And like you can use it to log data to like a CSV and then like process it and graph it later. Like yes, I've done that. Don't at me. Like I've done all of that, right? Like that's kind of what I do. So like and it's not like a big memory hog. And the other thing too, which I found interesting like in all this is this isn't the only program that does this. But a lot of these programs have like the observer effect where like when these are running, it's actually like causing your processor to do work. So it then raises the temperature, right? So like this doesn't do that. So that's why everybody likes this one. I don't know. I'm going to leave.
It looks really cool. I'm looking at some of the screenshots right now and that's a pretty neat looking piece of software.
Yeah. And you can see like what your individual cores are doing, like which cores are turbo boosting and which ones aren't. And you can like basically track like how like what clock speed your processor totally hits in these boost phases. Like there's a lot of cool stuff in there. But here's the thing: I'm not going to touch this computer for a week. I'm going to play games. I'm gonna let it be its thing. Now that being said, I'm going to probably play with my fan curves, right, and try to find like what is the optimal fan curves for this thing. But I'm just gonna leave it alone. And I can already see you.
Yep. I'm making a reminder of myself for the doc to ask you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna put some links in the show notes. Just to put a reminder here: YouTube video on thermal paste. Yeah, I'm gonna put a video in there. If you're listening to this and you really want to see what I'm up against, go watch these videos. You're gonna like probably hate the videos. You probably don't care about this stuff. I care about this stuff. It's interesting. Crap damn it. And this is what I've been living for like the past 3 weeks. Anyway. All right. Enough Drew's computer corner, because I feel like that is pretty much what this show has become. Like,
dude, I love it. Honestly, I hope you mess with your computer next week so we can talk about it some more.
Well, it's like I told you before, like every time I take this apart, I run the risk of it not booting, right? It's like the more I mess with this, like I might just get to a point where God decides to teach me a lesson. All right, asshole, like you've had your chance. Like you can't leave well enough alone. Like that's the lesson. That's the lesson here.
Yep. Oh.
All right. So I'm gonna take the focus off of me here, and when I checked the dock today, I saw something that made me giggle a little bit.
Yeah.
Paul, did your Amazon stuff get resolved?
I think it did. So I don't remember what episode I talked about this, where I was having issues where Amazon was delivering my packages to the wrong house, and I tried delivery instructions, I tried contacting support, and nothing really worked. And then I tried contacting support again, and I got someone who actually, seemed to care. And I've been kind of paying attention for the last month. We have not had any deliveries sent to the wrong house. And I don't know if you do this or not, but if you have on my wonderful iOS device, I have Amazon sending me push notifications, because before I had to really pay attention to when my packages were being delivered, because often they'd be in the wrong place. So, when someone was out for delivery was a big, I had to know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you click on that notification, and the person is within 10 stops or something, you can see a little map, and on the map is a little dot where I'm guessing it's roughly where the delivery driver is, and another dot that's supposed to be your house. And that dot used to be not on my house. It was on the wrong road. Now, I saw it today. I managed to catch it. It is on my house. The red pin is where I live. And I really believe that has helped my packages being delivered correctly. So, yeah, man, this outside of my vestigial mailbox, this is the last issue that I've had with my address. I won't say my house. I can't talk about that yet.
Oh, right.
But I think I've got my address situation figured out. Google still has the wrong zip code and city for where I live, but meh. That's not really that big of a problem. But
so,
I'm getting my packages on my porch reliably. I'm very happy.
Okay. Well, I'm happy for you, but let's unpack this a little bit more. So
okay.
So you have tried to get Amazon customer support engaged before. What was different this time? You just kind of hit the lottery, or
I think I hit the lottery. I did ask for them to send me an email when they had it fixed, and I got no email. But that's okay. The most important thing is that it's resolved. I imagine somewhere along the line they're using some license mapping software or some kind of rooftop that maps, addresses to latitude and longitude. And I'm sure someone just had to go, oh, that was wrong, and then move the little thing and update it. And who knows? But
so as someone who has worked with address verification software and leveraging that software, right? When you peel back the curtains, there's 3 companies that make that software, and everybody uses these 3 companies, right? So even Google, ultimately where all this stuff comes from is the Postal Service, because the Postal Service is the arbiter of what zip codes exist and who has an address and who doesn't. So all these companies do is use the same data and package it up in such a way that you can put an API in front of it. All of these companies are using one of these 3 vendors. And then even online services that do this lookup are probably leveraging this software behind the scenes. There's 3 companies, and I'm not going to name and shame any here. So what I have to imagine, right, is let's say you're company X, and I'm writing software, and Paul uses my software to type in his address, and then it can't find his address because the Postal Service has the data wrong, or it comes up wrong, or maybe I type in Paul's address and it auto-corrects it for me, and I'm just clicking buttons because I'm a robot, right? The address verification software is just designed to make sure that your zip code is formatted correctly and the city is correct and the street actually exists. That's pretty much the extent of it. So what I'm sure is happening here is the Postal Service has your address as whatever, and Amazon or whoever uses some software that has that wrong entry. They've used it for years, and like everybody's GPS also uses this same software for addresses and like maps it incorrectly, and like it's just shame all the way down, right? And until someone actually goes into a database somewhere and corrects your entry, which is what I think probably happened in this case, like someone finally wrote an update statement and like corrected you, right? Because that's what it is. Because if they're going through the UI, like I'm sure they're like gonna get the same verification errors, right? Like there's probably no override in the UI because humans are usually wrong, right? Computers are never wrong. So like with these with this address verification software, it's like even when someone would try to correct it, I guarantee you it's still being overridden. So someone actually went like super deep into a database and corrected you.
Yeah, and real-time follow-up. So for the longest time, when you searched for my address in Google Maps, it insisted that I was in a different city with a different zip code. Like the pin still took you to my house, but the city and zip code were wrong. I know that because I get mail to the address that works. I just did a double check, and it is now right in Google as well. So perhaps there was some sort of fundamental data source
there had to be.
that is now propagating throughout all the systems.
Because I don't know if you know this, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Google and Amazon don't share data. So I'm willing to bet that there's been a fundamental change to the underlying postal service stuff, because those addresses get updated monthly, sometimes bi-monthly.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm just speaking from industry experience here. And maintaining those updates is awful, by the way. As I'm sure you're aware, because that was one of the things that I was like doing before I left.
Yep. Oh, but I'm happy. Amazon packages on my doorstep once again.
Oh man, that's so good. Hey,
it's good.
Speaking of like continuing to follow up on things, how's your TV been doing?
Oh, my new TV, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Like new couch, new TV. Like you're done with The Last of Us 2, right? Like,
yep.
So you're just now enjoying your TV and couch in a non-gaming capacity, maybe. I don't know.
I still mostly, it's about 95% gaming, 5% watching television up there.
So honestly, what are you playing now?
I am playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Ugh, really?
It's so I've played a handful of the earlier Assassin's Creed games, and they were fine. They were fine. I honestly was kind of, after The Last of Us, I was kind of lost, and I was basically just going through the Sony PlayStation sale, and they had like a ridiculous sale on this. I'm like, well, you know what? Let's look at a couple reviews, and it was, basically it was like, oh, it's a big open world game, lots of content, combat's pretty fun, gets a little repetitive, but I used to play Tony Hawk. I have a high tolerance for repetitive video games.
Oh yeah, same. Well, so
I gave it was on sale, and I gave it a try, and I've sunk about 20 hours into it so far, and I'm actually enjoying it. It's not the best game I've ever played, but it is. It's definitely filling the. I basically have. I need it. I have a gap. I finished Last of Us 2. I'm waiting for Cyberpunk 2077. I needed something to fill that, that game-sized hole in my heart. And it's doing okay. I mean, I'm not beholden to it. If something better came along and I didn't finish Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I wouldn't cry. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's good. I mean, hold on. Let's see what the critics have to say. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I like typing it into search boxes. You get to type ass twice.
Ass Creed. Ass bro. That was Assassin's Creed's Brotherhood was Ass bro, and I'll never forget that acronym, right?
It's an 81 on wait, is it Ord? No, I'm playing Odyssey. Hold on.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed. Hold on. I get to type ass twice.
Ass Creed. Ass Creed, Ass bro. Yeah, it writes itself.
It's an 83 on Metacritic.
Yeah, Metacritic. I never got into those games. I hate the control scheme in those games.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not great, but it is definitely it's giving me something to do, and there's so much content on there, and like I got like the Mega Uber Deluxe Edition with all the DLC and crap for like a ridiculous price on one of Sony's sales. So yeah, it's definitely filling the gap. Now, like I said, it's filling the hole in my heart until Cyberpunk comes out, because then I'm just gonna that's gonna be the game I play.
Yeah,
like
I have a conspiracy theory about that though.
That they're trying to align it for the new console launches.
That and trying to align it for the new NVIDIA graphics card launches.
Oh yeah,
right.
I'm also curious about whether or not, because I know they've been working really closely with R. Talsorian, the owners of the IP that were making the role playing game, and Cyberpunk Red, the latest edition of the role playing game, has been meant to come out forever. So I'm also wondering if that's going to be a big thing. It's like, hey,
I thought I saw something online somewhere where somebody was like actually playing Cyberpunk Red already. Is it out?
There is a beginner's box.
Okay.
I will put a link in the show notes for that. I own it, but I have yet to read it.
How much is it? Is it on Amazon?
There is a, hold on. I think there's an actual, I own the digital version of it. I don't actually own the physical box.
The Jumpstart kit, is that what we're...
Yep,
okay.
Exactly.
So it's R. Talsorian Games Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart kit.
Yep.
It looks like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
$30.
$30.
2 booklets, one containing world lore and adventures, and the other essential rules needed to play the game right out of the box. 6 pre-generated characters, 6 cyberpunk-themed dice, 2d10s and 4d6s. Maps and standees to help to bring the world of Cyberpunk to life. All right.
Yeah.
Ooh, delivers July 21st. I can't wait that long.
If you want the digital version, there is a... basically, you can get them as PDFs for $10. And I will drop that link in the show notes in a random spot. I'm actually kind of semi-excited about Cyberpunk Red. The previous editions were Cyberpunk 2020, and when I played it, that seemed like so far in the future, and now that's now. But I mean, me and my friends in high school and college, we were just junkies for anything in that kind of cyberpunk setting.
Oh yeah,
cyberpunk, Shadowrun, all that wonderful stuff.
Oh yeah, man.
So yeah,
it's pretty funny because there was so much like cyberpunk future tech stuff in the 80s. Like that seems when that like started to really take off, like mid to late 80s. I think all that started with kind of like with the Terminator, right? Just kind of in the early 80s, like that whole tech, like the tech noir stuff, like just
yeah. And like, when did William Gibson's novels come out?
Like Neuromancer?
Yeah.
Good question. I want to say early 80s.
Neuromancer was 84.
84.
Yeah. Burning Chrome was 82. So
Burning Chrome was really good. I like Neuromancer. Neuromancer's good. I think I like Burning Chrome better.
I think I do too.
Let's see here. Neuromancer. Let me put some links in the show notes to that.
Yep. And that, I think, that helped too. Like it was just a zeitgeist, right? You had Gibson, you had those movies. Like, it all just culminated and that's not the word. It all just came together, and man, I'm just a sucker for that stuff.
Oh yeah, same. Same. Did you ever you read all the Shadowrun novellas, right?
I read as many as I could. So Shadowrun is, we talked about a bunch. It's very, very popular tabletop role-playing game setting. It's created. They've made some video games from it. Some of them really good. Some of them kind of bad. They also push out a lot of novels, but turns out like they are hit or miss. Some of the earlier ones are really good.
No. Okay, so hold on. Let me rephrase. The old ones.
Yes, the old ones.
The old ones are great.
Yes. Yep.
What was that? What was that guy's? What was that? Street Sam's name that showed up in all of them? It was a total badass.
Yeah.
God, what was his name?
Yeah, and the Never Deal with the Dragon series. Like the very first ones. Those were so good. Really good.
Yeah, yes. the new ones are bad. The new ones are.
Yeah. I did read. right when 6th edition came out.
Argent. That was his name. Fuck,
yeah.
yes.
And I was full of hope and that 6th edition would be good. To kind of build up to it, Catalyst Games Labs, the company that produces all this crap, they did a series of they were kind of like novellas. They weren't full length novels, but they were longer than a short story. Mm-hmm. And I think there were 6 of them, and each basically together they told the story of one complete Shadowrun, right? From getting the job, doing the legwork,
Yep.
doing the actual job, getting screwed over, dealing with that. But each one, told the story, not the whole story, but like a part of the story from one character's point of view. Right? So they got the one that was the face, and you got the Street Sam, and then you got the mage and stuff. And then what they did is they tied those in as those characters were the sample characters available in the beginner box or the main rulebook or something. And that story was okay. It was definitely better than some of the other books I had read. But yeah, those early ones are really, really good. Like Never Deal with a Dragon, Choose Your Enemies Carefully, and like Burning Bright. Those were
Run Fast Die Hard's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. My friend had like all of them. He would let me borrow them. I should go see if I can find those. I'm sure I can find used copies somewhere. Man, those were so good. Boy. All right, so anyway, to bring this kind of back to the video game things, the reason I ask, right, is you had talked previously about playing Elder Scrolls Online on here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I just was curious if you were still playing that, and more to the point, I was just curious if you had spent any real dollars on that game.
I absolutely. I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break. It's getting a little repetitive for me, and I might go back to it. But I absolutely have spent money on Elder Scrolls Online. What I had bought there is a product called ESO Plus.
Okay,
I believe is what it's called, and it is a subscription. It is, what is it? It's like $12 a month, and it unlocks. Well, the first thing it does is it unlocks all of the. So ESO has like a core game, right, where you can explore a lot of the map, and you have there's like a main story, and there's certain, basically raids you can do. But then every so often they basically sell, every 6 months they come out with a new part of the map, and that is a downloadable content. If you want to play it right away, you have to give them money. The ESO Plus gives you all the DLC except for the most recent one, so It gives you lots and lots of other content to do. It gives you unlimited storage for crafting materials, right? So if you're going to play anyone who wants to do any of the crafting skills, which is not, you don't have to do it. It's totally optional. You totally can ignore it. But if you want to do crafting, you pretty much have to have ESO Plus to be able to store those materials. It gives you bonuses to your gold and experience. But it also gives you what is it? Here it is. 1,650 crowns per month, which is their digital fun bucks that you can use to buy stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I got paid last week. I get paid twice monthly, and I decided to buy some. So, the free to game. I think I've talked about it on here before, but the free to play game that I play is World of Warships. Mm-hmm. Which is historical naval vessels. You guess what? You're on the water and you sail around and you shoot other people with your guns. And yeah, pew pew pew, and you can set boats on fire. You can just kill boats with one hit if you penetrate their armor. Penetrate. Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's actually a status called penetration that you can get if you penetrate someone's armor. It just says it huge on the screen, and I just can't help but giggle. Anyway, so World of Warships is kind of the same model where it's absolutely free to play. And you don't have to spend any money on it, but it's one of those things that you're probably going to want it. Now, here's why. And so the whole thing about World of Warships is that when you get into a battle, you first pick the boat that you're going to take into the battle. And there's like 8 different nations in the game, and each nation has like a tech tree of different boats. So like if you were to sign up for the game, you would get like, I think it's 3 or 4, they call them, and the boats are in tiers. So like tier 1, 2, 3, all the way through tier 10 or tier X. So you start at tier 1, and when you go into a battle, depending on how well you do and if your team wins, you get experience on that boat, okay? So as you gain experience in the boat, you are able to unlock upgrades for that boat. You spend experience in like the tech tree of that boat to unlock like new propulsion systems that help you accelerate faster, or steering, or better gunnery, more anti-aircraft guns. Like there's upgrades you get for your boat. Some of them are optional, but eventually you will find that you can then unlock tier 2 by spending experience. Well, like to go from tier 1 to tier 2, like you can do like in one battle if you get a win. Like it's like 800 experience points, which is like nothing. But like once you get to like tier 6, the grind is exceptionally real. Like it's like to go from tier 4 to 5, you need like 24,000 experience on the vessel you're using. Now, granted, you get more experience in the higher tiers, but not like proportionately so to what you need to move on. So like to go from tier 6 to 7 or 5 to 6 is like 76,000 experience. And that is for the last research. And there's like research in between. So like if you were to add it all up, it could be like 125,000 experience points on that ship to move up. Now, with World of Warships, there's like, if there's one thing World of Warships sort of suffers from, it's that they have like premium currency creep. So like kind of like you're talking about, right? So like in Elder Scrolls Online, the premium currency is crowns. Well, in World of Warships, it's doubloons, right?
Doubloons.
Right, because boats and oceans.
Clever.
Right.
Yeah, because boats.
So let me break this down for you. So you have in-game credits that you earn per battle, right? Mm-hmm. And when you win, you get more versus when you lose. And then you have doubloons. So like back to what I was saying, so when you unlock research, you then have to purchase the upgrade with in-game credits that you can just get from playing. Like you don't have to buy those. You can, of course, like spend $10 and get 1 million credits or whatever if you're really running low and desperate. But I have like 30 million credits. Like I've never run out. And I don't play all that much either. Like they're pretty generous with the credit spend. But the doubloons, on the other hand, are used to either buy what are called premium ships, meaning ships that you can't research. They're not necessarily better, but the experience you earn on those boats can be converted into what is called free experience, which can be used by any ship, right? So in addition to using experience earned on the ship, you can use free experience. And oh, by the way, all of your captains also have experience and premium experience. And then there's like special tokens that you can earn for a limited time that can unlock other boats. And it's just like... Oh, and then there's special camouflages, which also help you earn experience and credit faster. And signal flags you can mount on your boats that you can buy that increase your experience. Like they will get you a million different ways. And on top of all of that, right, you can also buy premium account time for like anywhere from 24 hours to 30 days or 90 days. And while you have a premium account, like your experience rate is doubled and your credit earn is double. So like... they really want you to spend money. I mean, and typically what I do is the package that I buy, I think is like $20. And I think it works out to be like 30 days of in-game time, a handful of doubloons to spend on whatever, right? Like if I want to like buy a premium ship or I want to convert experience from one type to another, that costs doubloons because of course it does. Or there's a special package available this week for like 100 doubloons to get a bunch of signals or camouflages. You get a fair amount for your money, but boy, man, it gets to be it does feel a little scummy the higher up you go in these tiers of what you're going to need to get up there. I don't know. Am I a bad person for doing that? I don't think I am, but I don't know.
No, I mean, the way I've always kind of viewed, like a lot of times, like in these free-to-play games, like yes, they really are free to play. You don't have to give one red cent. But like being able to like the money is either one of two things. One, you're either like spending money for time, right? I don't want to grind for this for 7 days. I just want to have it now. Or it's like it just improves the enjoyment of the game. If spending $20 makes the game more fun to you, then yeah, it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
That's how I was kind of seeing those things. Like if I'm really enjoying a game and like, well, if I give it $5, my enjoyment's going to go up, 25-50% or whatever. Like it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
And plus, like if you really enjoy the game, like if they don't make money, the game's going to shut down.
Right.
Like that's how that works.
Well, so two things about that, right? Number one, what I would hate is for me to spend, $20 a month for 12, 24, 48 months or whatever for however many years I played this game, and then for them one day just to turn around and close it down, because I've obviously invested a lot of time and money into the game at that point, because I'm not going to spend the money and not play the game, right?
Right.
Now this game is like perfect pick up and put down, because like I can like come downstairs on my computer at lunch, play 3 rounds, and then go back to work, right? Because it takes like 10 minutes to play a round. Sometimes more, sometimes less. If you get blown up super quick, you can like exit the game early, which happens to me a lot. But the other thing is, and I haven't seen this yet with this game, is when you can spend money and get an unfair advantage, that really turns me off. And like World of Tanks was like that for a while, where you could buy golden ammo, which just made your bullets better than everybody else's. Like that's not cool. Like I don't want to pay for an advantage, right? And like, one of the popular like video game models right now is like, take Call of Duty as the most recent, is they have like the season passes you can buy, right? And like I already paid $60 for that game, and the season passes are usually like $15 or $20. And you don't get like anything you can't get if you don't buy the pass, but you get a lot of extra cosmetic stuff. It's all cosmetic stuff at that point, right? Yeah. Now, you could argue that some of these boats are better than the others, and that's clearly the case, but there's not one boat in the game that if you were to spend $50 on it to get would put you leagues above the rest. Because the other thing is having a lot of boats to play to let you kind of bounce around in is kind of part of the fun for me, because I like to play the German boats, and then I'll play the English boats, and then I'll go back to the Japanese boats, and like I'm like working on 3 different nations at one time. And oh, by the way, in each of these different nations, I'm like working on a different type of boat. Like in the German tree, I'm working on battleships. In the Japanese tree, I'm working on cruisers, and then in the English tree, I'm working on destroyers. Like there's some fun in that for me, but like I think what I worry about is that when I finally get to the end of those tiers, am I going to want to go back and grind up the other types? So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I say all this in service of, I just was curious, like with your Elder Scrolls, if you had spent any money, and I kind of assumed that you did, but I didn't want to assume that you did.
Yeah, I absolutely did. And like crowns, like most of the stuff you can buy in ESO with crowns is cosmetic stuff. It's costumes. It's like it's furniture for your house, or you can buy an in-game house, or there are some things where you can like buy, crown scrolls, which basically you read the scroll and your experience in gold increases for 12 to 24 hours, 12 or hours you play or whatever. You can buy minor things that make your, writing speed faster, so you can get places more quickly. But
that's
like you're not going to be better in the game because you spent money on it. You still have to do the quests and get the gear. They also have this weird like loot box system where you can spend crowns on like gambling, and I've avoided that completely. I know some people are really big into that, except for like I've got a few boxes for free. It's just for subscribing or watching a Twitch streamer or something.
Oh yeah, but,
yeah. But I don't spend money on those.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, World of Warships has that too, where you can buy containers, right? And like as you play, and like every day you can earn up to 3 different containers if you get enough experience by playing, type of thing. So like you can still get them, but I don't spend currency on that. Anyway. Well, man, computers, video games, Shadowrun. Man, we heard a lot of things today.
We did it all.
We did most of it. I took a couple things off because we're running out of time, and I want to have more time to talk about some of those other things. All right. Yes. So I'm not going to touch my computer for a week. So, Paul, in the week that I'm not touching my computer, where can people find us?
You can find us on the internet at doingtheirbest.com and on Twitter at doingbestpod. You can reach me on Twitter at Paul Baylor. That's Bahler. And where can we find you, Drew?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Pittsburgh, Pittfurg, and one of these days I'll get back to streaming. I just don't know when. I just haven't had time. It's the truth. I've just been busier than hell.
Yeah, well, if you don't tear your computer apart,
Yeah, I mean, the chances of me playing a game go up by like a factor of 10 when my computer's working, right? Like,
exactly.
All right, everybody.
Thanks for listening.